It's live with Mr. Khera. Mr. Khera, how are you, sir?
Oh, wonderful. That gave me time to grab a sandwich. That's fine.
I think then this worked out perfectly for everybody because I think that was lunchtime. Everybody's had a bite to eat,
You bet.
refreshed, and ready to talk again. Wonderful.
That's right.
Great. So let's
All
resume our
right.
conversation. Let's resume our conversation. And last I remember, I think the question that you were answering was that the difference between whether somebody needs to be born a leader or can somebody be groomed or be trained to be one. I think that's where we left our conversation. So let's pick it up from there, Mr. Kira.
Yeah, I think we covered it. You want me to redress it? I'll
Yeah,
do it.
I think because I think there was an audio quality that was bad, and that's a question that came directly from social media, from the fans. So if it's not too much
Oh,
trouble, so I would request you to if you can just pick it up again.
all right. All right. Just on the lighter side, look, when a child is born, it's a boy or a girl. Nobody says a leader is born or a politician is born or a doctor is born or an attorney is born. It is basically through learning, training from a girl or a boy, they eventually end up to become that way. So keep in mind, any kind of a people development, it's not an event, it is a process. I cannot become a neurosurgeon by taking a weekend course and become a neurosurgeon. I cannot become a leader by only taking one weekend course and become a leader. It's a process. It is, and it is learned. It is learned. It is taught. And yes, there are certain qualities that a person, I would say, I would say 90% is all learned. I wouldn't say it's part of the DNA. I don't know. I'm not qualified, nor am I a medical professional. But I personally feel, with my experience, what I've learned over the last few decades, it is learned anywhere. Hello. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir. We got that. Thank you for that, Mr. Khera. Let me just try and get in a couple of our participants who missed out their opportunity to have a word with you. Let's start with Mohana here. Mohana, hi. Are you there with us?
Yeah. Hi, sir.
Please go ahead, Mohana.
Hanji, my question is, what kind of role should a leader of a sports team play for a long-term stability?
What is a leader? What kind of role a leader should play
For a long-term stability.
for long-term stability?
Yeah.
Well, let me share with you. By and large, you find, where does a leader get power from, which is what makes them a leader. If they have no power, they're no leaders. And two, if they have no followers, then they're no leaders anyway. So question is, where does a leader get power from? See, a leader gets power from positions and titles. Now, positions and title do give authority. Authority gives power, but only good behavior gives respect. Now, people who get power from positions and titles, you take away the title and the power goes away. Now, you also hear today the second source of power is called personality power. You hear consultants, schools, colleges advertising personality development program. Folks, don't get me wrong. Personality is important because personality opens the door for you. But if you have personality and no character, the door opens and then it closes. So personality opens the door, character keeps it open. So that is the second part. But you notice the third source of power for a leader is principles in life. You go check out some of the greatest leaders in the world. They were tall, they were short, they were fat, they were bald, but they had all one thing in common. They all had principles in life. Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Lincoln, any of these people, they all had principles. Now, you wouldn't go to personalities, nor would you say they were good looking people. Lincoln, by no standard, was a good looking person. Gandhi, by no standard, was a good looking person, but they had immense power. So, the way I see it, your winning combination is personality and principle put together is really your winning combination for a good leader to go on, which is what gives them sustainability.
Thank you
Th-
so much, sir.
Thank you, Mona, for that question. And before I invite Vikram to pose that question to you, sir, I just would like to extend this question that Mohana asked and phrase it in a different form, because that is something which is discussed very often. I think even on from the business side, which is the difference between a boss and a leader, and what do they do differently, and so I would like to hear your thoughts on that, sir. That what's a boss, what's a leader, and what differentiates them, and what's better.
Well, the word boss appears rather aggressive and oppressive. That somebody is, it's a one way, take it or leave it, that's the way it is. Whereas a leadership is a involvement, it is a process, it's a two-way street, and leaders are not only leaders as a coach, as a mentor, but they are also team players. If a person is not a good team player, they can't be a good leader. But every leader, if they're not good team players, they're not a good leader either. A good leader must be a team player. So every team player cannot be a leader, but a good leader must also be a team player. So there is more involved than just being a boss and say take it or leave it, and that's the way it is. It doesn't work that way. But keep one thing in mind: a good leader never does work for their team people. Never. A good teacher never does homework for the kids. A good parent never does homework for the kids. They teach them how to do it. Similarly, a good leader should never do work for others. They should always teach them to do it better. Means what? Good leaders look to create more leaders. Bad leaders look to create followers. You know why? Because they're so insecure. You know something? They're scared. They feel if another person learns something, what happens to my chair? See, they are insecure. So, key is good leaders are only those who create more leaders. That is good leadership.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Thank you for that, Mr. Khera. Vikram, if you're there with us, I think this is your moment. You go ahead, please ask your question to me, Mr. Khera.
Yeah, Mr. Khera, when I read your book long time back, you shared a very intimate anecdote where you said that to earn money when you were in Canada during your college days, you used to wash cars. So this is, and one day you had gone to there was some seminar of a person that changed your life. Can you share such anecdotes with us, which can help us do better or excel or to make us better in daily life? If you have some anecdote which you can share with us.
Okay. Well, first of all, Vikram, great to talk to you as a fellow Modernite, number one. And number two is apparently you already know how I started washing cars. Probably you know more about me than I do, I guess. But anyway, let me share with you on going back many years ago. We had coal mines in India, close to 1,000 people working, and they got nationalized and the government took over. So I left India at that point. So literally we came on the street. And not being that academic qualified, I went to Canada initially, started washing cars door to door, and gradually started selling vacuum cleaners door to door. And somehow, accidentally, I got into selling life insurance. And that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. And at that point, I recall very distinctly, my manager had literally fired me. But I did request him to give me a chance to prove myself. And he did. But he was very harsh with me. And there was a time when he said, you shut up and leave this place. But bottom line is that he took a commitment from me to do the best I can, which I gave to him at that point. And I learned one thing. that moral commitments are much stronger than legal commitments. And after that, I started, I got introduced to people like Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and I became an avid reader. Till then, I never used to read a book. All my schooling, till I passed my college, or in fact, till I got married, I was reading comics only. That's it. I started reading books. I started meeting people much wiser than me, and each one gave me some further direction. And eventually, I started implementing. I saw my life change personally, professionally, and socially. And that's the time when things changed. I said, somebody gave to me. Had they not given to me, I would never have been where I am. It is time for me to give now. I started working as a volunteer in the US in maximum security prisons in the jails. I used to go into the jails, and maximum security prisons are not small time criminals, they are big time criminals. And I started teaching them attitude, self esteem programs in the US. And I saw life change. And I said, what I'm doing makes sense. Then I took it to the corporate world, and gradually, one after the other, and God was kind. My first client was Lufthansa. I mean, that was amazing how I hit that client. And gradually, I moved on. And then, after almost 8, 9 years, I wrote my book, You Can Win, which is primarily the message what I learned in my 30, 40 years. And that learning I'm passing on to the next generation, and that's really what it is. And by the way, these are principles of success. They're not tactics. Remember, there's a big difference between tactics and principles in life. Tactics are manipulative. Principles are based on foundation of integrity, and that is the key, which is what brings sustainability in life. And there's no looking back, and I'm grateful to God for it.
Thank you, Mr. Khera, for sharing that with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vikram, for that question. I believe that we have Preeti who's in the studio, and there's Akshay who are all dying to ask their questions as well. So, Preeti, over to you.
Ankit, I think Akshay will go first. He's been waiting for quite some time.
All right then, Akshay it is.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Sai, I'm from IIT Roorkee, and I also play hockey in college.
Akshay, you had your breakfast?
Yeah.
Speak a little louder.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Shoot.
So I am from IIT Roorkee, and I also play hockey in college. I'm the captain of the team.
Okay, great.
Okay. Sir, now we've been talking about success, hard work, and sports for quite a long in this discussion. But I had an observation, like many of the people of my team also had the potential to contribute to the national team also. But as there is not much scope for a game like hockey or any other game in that sense, rather than cricket, so they almost chose to do something else than pursuing the sport. So, like, sir, how can these people win? What advice can you give for them?
Well, there are two elements involved. One is that what is your passion?
Yeah.
I mean, if your passion is hockey, then you're not going to play football.
Yeah.
And if your passion is hockey, you're not going to play tennis, man. I mean, you're going to play hockey, that's it. That's your passion. So once you pick up your passion, that's where your emotions are, and you put your heart into it, and that's where you can excel. Now, granted, for that matter, every country in the world, every country has their favorite colors, favorite birds, favorite anthems, and they have the favorite games also. In the US, it's baseball. I mean, I don't understand baseball, but there are people who are crazy about baseball. But that's the way it is. So in India, it is cricket. And then so what? So in fact, in the Chinese area, it is table tennis, man. The way they used to play table tennis, unbelievable. So I think eventually over a period of time, every country develops a greater interest in any one game, which becomes an obsession to the nation. literally. So in India, it is cricket, and that's really what it is. But as far as your team is concerned, your people, I mean, they can pursue their passion and keep moving with it. That's all.
Thank you, Akshay, for that question. Kriti, why don't you go ahead?
So I wanted to ask that with the new session commencing and the results just coming out, what is your opinion about the reservations? They're supposedly for the weaker to empower the weaker sections of the society, but the Indian politicians and the politics, so to say, the scene is not very nice. So they are sort of leveraging it and politicizing it more, the reservation scenario. So what do you think about that?
Well, leveraging is a very decent and a mild word. In fact, they're literally, I think, destroying the country based on caste. I did file a petition in the Supreme Court going back many years ago that reservation should be should not be based on caste and religion. Economics ought to be the criteria. And even if you look at Ambedkar, at one time, he had put in reservation only for 10 years and no more. And if you go through the history of independence and reservation, Parsis have been the biggest minority in this country. Even in 1947 and 48, the numbers were probably handful. They weren't even probably 100,000. Now, you could find a greater minority than them also. And in fact, to my knowledge, they were even asked, would you like to have reservation? They said, no, we don't. We are Indians and we need to work hard as part of the nation and we do not want to have any preferential treatment. By the way, that is called secularism. Secularism means you cannot give preference to one over the other, whereas right now, reservation actually goes against the principle of secularism. And the way it is being used right now in the hands of dirty politicians, it is breeding hatred within the country, hatred amongst our own people. And the way things are going on, if it is not corrected properly, we are heading for one more partition during our lifetime, and I'm talking 15 years. In fact, when I said that, there was one person who was in the favor of a reservation on caste and religion based, and very proudly the man said, कुछ बात जरूर है हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी हजारों साल से आक्रमण हुए हिंदुस्तान पे कुछ बात जरूर है हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी you know we're still existing. And I said to this man, he was a member of parliament, I said, it is such a disgrace that you are a member of parliament. And why did I say that? And the man says कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, we're still there. I said, have you forgotten history? Just 60 years ago, India's border used to go up to Afghanistan. Today, your border ends up at Amritsar. Don't you see Hasti Mitra here? This is called Hasti Mitra. Then I said, just 60 years ago, our borders, Burma, Bangladesh used to be part of India. Our border used to go there. Today, you close right out of Calcutta. What is left? Don't you see that this is self-destruction gradually one after the other? And not only that, the last 60 years, every day, India's flag gets burned 20 times a day in Kashmir. And don't you see it is hurting the nation and the unity of it? I mean, if it is so blatant, don't you see what is going on? And in fact, on the issue of reservation, one person even said, what's wrong with it? These are some corrective measures for past mistakes. And my answer is that helping somebody who is disabled, it's humanity. But making these people disabled to sell your own medicine, that is dishonesty. See, apahiz ko baisakhi dena is good, लेकिन अपनी बैसाखी बेचने के लिए दूसरे को अपाहिज बनाना is bad. So what are they doing? They are actually making people more dependent. And unfortunately, the Congress played their Hindu and Muslim cards always. But BJP divided the Hindus and the Hindus between them and started giving reservation games that they played. When Bajpayee became the Prime Minister in 1999, he gave reservations to the Jats in 1999. How do Jats become a backward class? In Delhi, Rajasthan, Himachal, Jats are considered backward. All over the country, they are forward. In Bihar, the Vaishya Samaj, Gupta, Bansal, Mittal is considered backward. All over the country, they are forward. I just came to know in Karnataka, Rajputs have been declared backward. How interesting. What a disgrace. And then they have reservations for the Muslims now in West Bengal and other places. You know something? People do not want to talk about it because they are scared. It doesn't make sense. And all they're doing is, their only concern is how to be in power for the next 5 years and destroy the country. And that holds true. With all these parties, there is total political bankruptcy out there. And all I can say is, people like Sardar Patel literally put their life into this nation and united this country. They gave India what India is today. If it was not for Patel, we would not have India like this. It was the gift of Patel. And since Sardar Patel, to date in India, we have not seen a good leader. We have not seen any good leader. All you see is people who are looking to snatch power, remain in power by hook or by crook, and they sing songs of patriotism. And that is the biggest hypocrisy, in my opinion. It is treachery with the nation. This is treachery with the nation. So the bottom line really comes down to, we cannot be spectators. We have to get actively involved if we want to change the system. There is no other answer. See, there are two kinds of citizens: patriots, active and passive. Active people do something. Passive only say something must be done, that's all. And they never get involved. And my answer is, either get involved or shut up. You have no right to criticize the system, that's all. If we are not part of the solution, then we are the problem. So reservation is a cancer in this nation. Cancer is the word. Look at what is happening with reservation they have given in Patels in Gujarat. How are Patels backward? This is the only country in the world which has a race and they're competing to be more backward. Do you know, in amongst backwards also, there's one thing called OBC, another called MBC, most backward. Backward amongst the backward. So there's another kind of a race that is going on. And this is outright disgrace. And through your media, if I can get this message to hopefully these politicians who are playing the dirty game, I think we've served the nation a little bit more.
Okay, Pankaj, there are some questions which are coming in from the social media. As Sumit is going to be taking those questions. Sumit, can you just take those questions?
So the first question. Go ahead. So the first question is from Rajat Podar. So he's asking how much boldness plays an important role in hard situations, and what is the duty of the captain towards his team in the tough situation?
Well, of course, one has to have courage and guts to do anything in life. You know something, character alone is not good enough. Integrity is not good enough. And keep in mind, what good is integrity if we do not have guts to implement integrity? It is totally useless. Just because a person is silent does not mean they have integrity. So, One has to have the courage to be proactive. Only then, proactive is the word, only then can one go forward and take the team forward. Now, what responsibility does have a leader have towards the team? One major responsibility is to build their team. No leader in this world has a ready-made team. Every leader has to make a team. Always. And two, they have to nurture them, they have to build them, they have to train them, and make sure they are putting the team interest above their own interest. And you notice one thing, the strongest teams in this world always don't win. The team that gets along wins more time than the stronger team. So they have to make sure that everybody, in fact, one of the greatest coaches in the world once said, finding good players for me is not a problem. I can find some wonderful players, but making them play together is my biggest problem. You know what? Egos play roles, and that is where people start self-destructing, unfortunately. Families get destroyed, sports team gets destroyed, organization get destroyed, and nations do get destroyed the same way.
सर एक सवाल मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा सर कि जो क्रिकेट के लोग होते हैं वो एक तरह से रोल मॉडल होते हैं सबके लिए, राइट? तो जिस तरह से हम देखते आ रहे हैं कि बहुत सारे अच्छे क्रिकेटर्स बाहर निकले हैं और गुड लीडर्स बाहर निकले, आपको क्या लगता है कि ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम जब हम देखेंगे कि जैसे सचिन निकले हैं और विराट निकले हैं, बहुत बढ़िया अच्छे लीडर्स निकले हैं, क्या ये लीडर्स देश के लिए भी कुछ पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन में कुछ कर सकते हैं? क्या आप देखते हैं कि कल के जो लीडर्स होंगे, क्या आप सचिन को या विराट को या धोनी को इस तरह के लीडर्स बनते हुए देख सकते हैं?
देखिए ऐसा है, जब एक आदमी किसी चीज में उभर के ऊपर आता है, obviously he stands out for a reason, whatever. Then स्वामी विवेकानंद ने कहा था कि इंसान जितना ऊपर जाता है उतनी उसकी देश के हित में जिम्मेवारी बढ़ती है। विवेकानंद जी ने यही कहा था कि आप जितना ऊपर जाते हो आपकी देश के प्रति जिम्मेवारी उतनी बढ़ती है। So it becomes a much greater responsibility because the nation is looking at you as a role model. So it is much greater responsibility. वो कहते हैं ना, एक मंत्री चोर होगा, सॉरी एक संतरी चोर होगा तो क्या कर लेगा, उसका दायरा कितना है, 100 गज तो दायरा। मंत्री चोर होगा तो देश बेच देगा। तो बात ये है कि खाली एक अच्छा प्लेयर बनने से अगर वहीं पे आदमी रुक जाए, then I think they are a good player, but that doesn't mean they're good leaders either also. Okay. ये भी बहुत फर्क है, खाली एक अच्छा प्लेयर होना है और एक अच्छे लीडर होने में बहुत फर्क होता है। हर अच्छा प्लेयर is not a good leader. Yeah. So one has to look at what are the leadership qualities, and that is important. And I personally feel that one can inculcate good qualities and get involved. And we all have an obligation to the country that has given us a space and birth in this to our motherland.
तो आप देख पा रहे हैं अपने विजन से कि हमारे क्रिकेटर्स के अंदर में से कोई ऐसे क्रिकेटर जो कि आगे जाके शायद चीफ मिनिस्टर या प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनने के लायक हैं या वहां पर उस कुर्सी तक पहुंच सकते हैं, कोई ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति जो आपको दिखाई दे रहा है?
ऐसा है कि it's very difficult to tell, but I see no reason why a good player cannot get into politics and be a good player, a good leader. I think इनमें पोटेंशियल जरूर है। और आप एक बात देखें, एक अच्छे प्लेयर में खाली बल्ला घुमाने की सिर्फ शक्ति नहीं होती है या बॉलिंग करने की खाली शक्ति नहीं होती है। अच्छे प्लेयर के अंदर कुछ चरित्र की ट्रेड्स, कैरेक्टर ट्रेड्स होने चाहिए, तभी वो अच्छा प्लेयर बन सकता है, वरना नहीं हो सकता। इसमें कैरेक्टर ट्रेड्स क्या है? They have to have the enthusiasm, they have to have the commitment, they have to have the commitment to practice, they have to have the skill, they have to have the will, and all put together, जब तक उसके अंदर they have to have the discipline. Yeah. जब तक ये सब चीजें नहीं होंगी प्लेयर कैसे अच्छा बन सकता है? प्लेयर ही नहीं बन सकता। तो
Yeah.
दैट मीन्स उसके अंदर कुछ ऐसे गुण जरूर होते हैं या होने चाहिए जिसकी वजह से अच्छा प्लेयर बनता है। और अगर उन गुणों को अगर आदमी बढ़ाएगा, आई सी नो रीजन व्हाई दे कैन नॉट बी गुड लीडर्स। दे हैव द पोटेंशियल ऑफ बीइंग गुड लीडर।
Sure. But, okay, Pankaj, over to you.
Thank you, Jay. I think I believe Umesh has a question as well. Umesh, do you have a question for Mr. Khera? Umesh, unmute yourself. I think you're muted.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah.
Please go ahead.
Getting back to cricket, yeah, I'd like to know from you if there is, see, there is a lot of scope in cricket, and the youngsters are actually doing well as well. So, how would you suggest the youngsters to maybe grow up and take up a sport, some like cricket, which is very difficult, like runs, but how would you suggest them to go about through making their career or being successful as a cricketer, or reach the Indian team? How if you could give your inputs on that?
देखिए ऐसा है, globally if you look at it, with technology changing, anybody today specializing in any one area is not good enough. There are many people who are looking at multiple areas, and in fact now today in the Western world, people changing their jobs probably 20, 30 times in their lifetime is not out of line. That many jobs or even higher. So a person to carry forward today has to have more skill, more than one skill. So whether a person makes sports as a career for the rest of their life, I mean they have to have certain other understandings and knowledge. If they don't have it, whether it is economics, whether it is finance, because there are people who get the opportunity, but if they're not prepared, they end up losing it. So I personally feel that just one thing alone, for instance, only learning cricket, I think that's not good enough to succeed in life. One needs to have allied or additional complementary, or even not complementary. They must take additional skills. I'll share with you one more. There was one study which said people who know more than one language actually earn much higher livings in life. So, means they've got some additional skills to back up. So, I personally feel that one must have little diversified knowledge, skill, and competence to move forward in life. One element is not good enough now.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Umesh, for that question. Let me take one question from social media. Well, it's not related to cricket, sir, but I think it's an important one. The government completes 2 years, being in power. How do you view their progress? What do you think they've done in those 2 years? Have they done enough, or have they done good? Well, your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, what I hear, I can only go by what I hear from the media and maybe some close friends who are in the political circles. That's my source of information. But what I hear is that the government is serious, they want to do it, and apparently they are doing many things internally for which the results are not showing on ground as of now. But personally, I feel that what we should have seen by now, people had a lot of expectations from this government. Uh, I think they could have done a lot better. They certainly could have done a lot better. They, because we're not seeing things on ground today. Corruption, though you don't hear political corruption, but corruption still exists in the whole nation. And unfortunately, the one major pillar of a country or democracy to be successful is the judiciary. And today, there are so many criminals with criminal records in the parliament. that it is embarrassing and shameful. And I feel people talk of criminalization of politics, but my biggest question is, tell me, if the judiciary had done the job right, do you think you could even have one criminal in the parliament? So we need to look at, has the judiciary done their job right? And in fact, you don't have to go that far. There are many judges even said 20, 30%, 30% of the judiciary at the top level is corrupt. And you don't have to go that far. Shanti Bhushan, our ex-law minister, filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court saying that 8 out of 16 chief justices of India are corrupt. I repeat, Shanti Bhushan filed an affidavit giving names of those people. 8 out of 16 chief justices of India are corrupt. I mean, with this kind of level of integrity and judiciary, how do you expect proper justice and implementation in the country? I personally feel that the Modi government should have made the first effort to clean up the judiciary, bring propriety in the judiciary system, and the way they are moving, their only one thing is how to gain power, compromise any principle, compromise the country, but just gain power. Look at in Jammu Kashmir. I mean, they have formed a government with the PDP. Those are the people who who was burning the Indian flag for the last 60 years. They are the people who have been shouting slogans against India, and today they are alliance partners with the government. It is absolutely an example of political bankruptcy and nothing more.
Right. Thank you for your thoughts on that, Mr. Khera. Uh, I believe that this is time for us to end our show. On behalf of the entire TSD family and the Circle of Cricket community on our platform, let me thank Mr. Khera for his valuable time. I know, Mr. Khera, you are very busy. You're mostly on the go. You're traveling so much. So I know this would have been a lot from you. So thank you so much for spending that time with us. Thank you so much, sir. And I hope that you will accept our invitation again in the future to come and join us and enlighten us with your thoughts on many facets of life, sir. Thank you so much again. Wonderful. Viewers, I hope you had a great time as much as we did. We enjoyed this. And we look forward to your comments. So stay tuned to Circle of Cricket for more. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.